Let's talk housing. I'm Sudha Kumar. I'm joined by my colleague, Parth Sarvate. Parth is the country advisor for USC based in India. And what he will be doing towards the very end of this panel discussion is say a few words and give you guys some updates about what the travel advisories is all about, how it impacts students who are planning to join for the fall and summer of 21. So you will have to wait for that till the end of the session because on this session, we are going to focus on housing. The situation in India is pretty grim, and I'm hoping that all of you are masking up and staying safe. But I do know that many of you have families that are impacted, and we are very, very concerned about our students, and I'm hoping that all of you and your families will start doing better soon. This too will pass, but unfortunately right now it's taking quite a toll on all of us. Perhaps the topic today is premature because of the travel ban, but on the other hand, we do hope that the situation will improve, and this will give you some time to do some research using some of the resources and tips that our panelists today will be sharing with all of you. We've received a lot of questions as part of the registration process, and I've tried to fold in most of those questions into the questions that I'll be asking the panelists. But if there is something in addition that you would like to ask towards the end of the session, please go ahead and type it up in the chat, and we will try and get to it if there is sufficient time. One other thing is normally USC would do a lot of in-person networking events for admitted students. This year we are not able to do that. But I do know that there are many WhatsApp groups and other ways that you guys are networking, maybe with Facebook or whatever. But if you would like to be connected to others and right now you are not, please feel free to share your LinkedIn profile or your contact information. And also for those of you who are running any WhatsApp groups, please share that information on the chat site. That thing can be scrolling to the side, and you can copy that information and reach out to other admitted students at a later time. All right, so we will be starting the session very soon, but before that, I just want to give a disclaimer. USC does not promote any apartment complex or a building, and we will not be responding to any questions about individual apartment complexes after this event is over. So while our panelists can share their experiences, it is your responsibility to do your research and your due diligence. Parth or I have no personal knowledge about apartments in and around Los Angeles. So anything you hear at this event should be fact-checked by you personally. So I know our panelists have very generously given a lot of time today, and they will be talking to you and they'll be sharing their experiences, but it is up to all of you to really do your fact check. So now let's begin. We have two fantastic panelists today. We are very lucky to get. The first panelist is Madhu Venkatesh. Madhu is an alumnus. She graduated with an MS in CS from USC in 2019. So Madhu, can you briefly introduce yourself and tell the students where you lived when you were at USC?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sudha. So I graduated with a master's in CS from USC in 2019. I'm currently in Bangalore working for a startup called Workspan. So during my tenure of 2 years at LA, I lived in 2707 Portland Street, which is a very common place for where many Indians live. The best part about this place was that it's super close to campus, and along the entire path, you have USC campus ambassadors or the Yellow Jacket security folks who man streets. So I felt super safe at this place. And we'll possibly talk more through this webinar. So I just want to say hi to everyone.
Thank you, Madhu. Our second panelist is perhaps getting very famous because of all the videos that he's been doing about USC and the campus and surroundings, Ayush Khator. Ayush, please tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Sure. Firstly, welcome everyone and congrats on the admit. I've just started my master's journey in spring 21 and I also flew during this COVID pandemic situation, so I completely understand what everybody is going through. It is really a difficult time considering the rules are changing every day, but hang in there, things will get better. And regarding where I stay right now, I am staying on 30th Street. It is not a famous building or apartment, it is just 1226 West, and I will be moving to Palisades in fall.
Thank you. So of all the questions that I've received so far, what I've done is I've kind of bunched them into various topics. So we'll move from topic to topic. What I'm going to request the panelists is I'll address the question to one of them, and after they have answered, if the second panelist wants to jump in, they can do that. If the other panelist has completely covered the topic, then let's move on, because we have received so many questions and we have so much to cover. All right, the first question goes to Madhu. Madhu, in terms of timing of the search, is now too early or too late to start house hunting?
I would
I
say,
mean, most of the students will be coming for the fall 21 semester.
yeah, I think I would say fairly May, beginning of May is a good time to start your search. It's definitely not late. Given the current situation, it might be a tad early because we don't know about the embassy situation. So it's definitely not late. Now's the time to do all your due diligence, do the research, look up all of the apartments, explore your options, shortlist them, try to reach out to seniors to get some background on specific apartments, and make your list and target sending out applications to these apartments by end of this month or even mid this month should be okay for some of the popular places. So you're definitely not late if you're starting out now.
Okay. Next question to Ayush. Ayush, are there areas to avoid while searching for a house near USC?
Correct, great question. So whenever we are looking for any house, right, first thing we have to make sure that it is within the DPS boundary. If people don't know what is the DPS boundary, I will share the link on the chat after the conversation. So just make sure that it is within the DPS boundary and it is as close to the campus as possible. Because the moment you go away from the campus towards the boundaries, we have seen some crimes happening in the last few months. So just try to avoid the boundaries and stay as close to campus as possible.
Okay. So the next question is a follow-up on the same question. Which part of housing side is safer for students? Is it the north side or the south, the east or the west?
I would
Within the boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah, so mostly I've seen people staying towards the north of the campus because if you see the boundary, it is mainly spread towards the north side. I mean, Madhu can correct me over there, but she has stayed here for 2 years.
Yeah. Madhu, you want to jump in?
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. So you would want to come to the side of Hoover, Jefferson, Figueroa, some of the streets on that side, because that's where the DPS boundary extends. On the other side, you have Exposition Boulevard, and I don't think you want to venture past that. So I think it was great what Ayush mentioned to stay within the boundary. You might want to check out where your apartment comes with respect to the boundary, and do avoid staying really far from campus. It might seem okay to sit here and think 3 miles is okay, and you might just like ride up to the place, but it's not. It doesn't work out very well that way. You might have some long nights you want to pull off at the library, so staying very close to campus is definitely very, very much safer.
Okay. So Madhu, the next question is for you as well. How is security at USC in and around the campus housing?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. So I like this question also because USC does a lot to ensure student safety, especially within the DPS area. So DPS is the Department of Public Safety, and so the LA Police Department, they team up with USC to make sure that certain streets are manned, and they do 24/7 DPS patrol around the area to make sure they catch incidents and like reduce the crime rate. So I just have a couple of things that noted down that I want to sort of go over. Yeah, so the one thing is the free tram service that university provides. So trams shuttle around the area almost throughout the day. I think it stops around 2:30 a.m. But otherwise it's almost always plying. So even if you have to go to campus, even in the morning, you have trams which ply almost every half an hour or every 15 minutes. And there are apps to actually check where the tram is at any point. Then the great part about the next one is Lyft rides. So USC teams up with Lyft to provide free rides, and this starts in the evening times. I think you might want to check out the website for this. So it's different in the fall and the spring, the exact time when it starts, but within the DPS area, like within 1.5 mile radius, you have free Lyft rides available. So you can always avail this from any point in campus to your apartment if it is within the area. So besides Lyft rides, you also have campus cruisers, and these are run by USC itself. This is another great service to avail. As I mentioned, there is also Dps Patrol. So this is a bunch of police, equipped police officers who literally patrol the area, making sure there's nothing amiss. And there are campus ambassadors or yellow jackets who man several of the streets, and this is mostly in the evenings. So even if you're walking back alone, if you see something which catches you off guard, you can always signal out to them, and that's very helpful. There's also a Live Safe app, which you might want to download and keep at easy access, because this is your SOS. You can reach out to people if something goes wrong at any point, and you will be taken care of.
Okay. All right. So moving on.
I would like to add.
Oh, did you go ahead?
Add a few things. So I mean, Madhu has shared so much information. Don't be overwhelmed. So after you come here, you will have an orientation, right? So again, you will get all the links and information on that session. And I have shared the DPS link, the Lyft information over here. Because of COVID, the campus crusader is no longer active. It should be active once the campus is open. The only change that has happened is Lyft is open 24 hours now, not 24 hours, from morning 7 to night 1 o'clock right now, only during the COVID period. So a few changes over there.
Okay. So moving on to the next topic is, which is better? There's off-campus housing and there's on-campus housing. So in your opinion, which one is better? Ayush, go ahead.
Yeah. So in USC, for on-campus, you have to do an application. And if you get a shortlisted, then you have a place to stay. And what I have seen personally, they are generally a bit higher on rent. It is not 100% true, but there are few places which are lower on rent. Chances of you getting the place is a bit less. Versus if you go for off-campus, you get a better rent. And again, it is closer to campus as well, so no problem in that. USC has made sure we have security measures. So I would personally prefer off-campus housing.
Why would you prefer off-campus housing, Ayush? Is it only the cost or any other reason?
First is the cost, and second is the chances of finding an off-campus house is far better than on-campus house. Because as I said, you have to file an application, and if you are shortlisted, only then you are given an on-campus house. If I do not have a backup option of off-campus, there might be a case when I don't get a place to stay.
So on-campus housing is mostly meant for undergraduate students. So there is limited amount of graduate housing on campus, and you do need to apply for that ahead of time. Madhu, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, actually, I do. I think at the time that I left, I was not really aware of this option. So that was something I thought I missed out on. I personally thought that the not really the on-campus housing per se, but the university housing options, which were houses outside of USC campus, but sort of partnering with USC and kind of referred to as on-campus housing. So I thought some of these options were pretty good. Both feasible as well as came with a lot of good amenities. What I like about on-campus housing is two things. One is the excellent maintenance services, and the second one is the safety. So I think you might want to look at all of the floor plans that are offered by on-campus housing. So if anything falls under your budget constraints, then it is worth a shot to apply. So if you treat that similar to your off-campus applications, it's not a bad idea to wait it out to see what happens. I'm not sure exactly what the timeline is of when USC gets back to you about whether or not you have secured a spot in on campus housing, but I find that the security and the maintenance are great. And the one other thing is that most of them are furnished, as well as I think amenities are provided for. So by the time you get there, Wi-Fi, electricity, trash, gas, everything is sort of taken care of. So that might be a little bit more conducive. I personally stayed in an off-campus apartment, and the setup worked out okay for me because we were a group of people who went together and we managed to set up fine. But this is definitely a thing to look into.
Okay. So how does a student register for on-campus housing?
I have given the link. In that, if we click, we have an option of application portal. We can start the application because it has already begun for summer and for fall.
Okay. So when a student comes and they are in their first semester, is it recommended that they live off campus? You started off, Ayush, in your first semester living off campus, right?
Yeah.
All right. So just to summarize this segment, the on-campus housing can be slightly more expensive than off-campus. They are better maintained in many cases, but the amount of housing is very limited, so you'll have to apply very early. Chances, if you apply late, of getting it are slim. So if you have the ability, you can go ahead and apply quickly. And it might cost a little bit more than off-campus housing. All right. So how does a student who's here in India start the process of looking for a house? Madhu, you want to go first?
Sure, yeah, I think this is one of the most daunting things to do. You sort of don't know where to start. So I'd say one good option is there are some verified USC housing Facebook groups, and several students who are currently on campus keep posting slots to sublease people for, and some of these slots, like they have each of these posts have the apartment address over there. So one sort of good starting point could be to collect all of these posts and look up the same apartments as the ones that people have posted for. So this gives you an idea and is kind of a way to say that someone's lived there. So it's sort of okay to apply there. So another way is to reach out to current students there and make a list of apartments and housing managements which work out well and start reaching out to them. Look for but that said and done, you may always not be able to reach out to people. So just go for a Google search, just look up all of the apartments close by to campus, stick to the DPS limit area, and look out all of the apartment websites. Try to have actual conversations with the leasing agents. Sometimes you don't know and you're getting into a scam. So that's one thing to be really aware of. Talk to them, and before you go ahead and sign the lease or transfer any money to a person, make sure you have video clips of the place or something true enough to tell you that the place actually exists. Yeah. So.
Okay. So Ayush, what was your experience? How did you find housing when you came to USC?
Yeah. So one thing which helped me a lot were Facebook groups. So I have given 3 groups which I am a part of on the chat. So I would say begin the process like this. First, join all the WhatsApp groups which you can find so that if you don't have a roommate or if you are searching for a flatmate, you can find similar people from there. Second, join all the Facebook groups because we have active posts coming up on there. From that, you would at least come to know what are the places or the name of the places that you are looking forward to. Third, go to Google because Google Streets View for US is awesome. You actually see what the place is like on the Google Street. So once I saw my place, which I'm about to rent, I went to Google Maps, sorry, and there I saw the street view, how the actual place looks like. Is the pictures matching what I'm about to stay? So it's not a scam or that sort. The people who are staying there, try to connect with them. If you have friends, seniors, you can reach out to them so that they can give a better advice of okay, this place is good, this place is not good. USC has a program called Student Ambassador by Unibody where you can talk to people who are already studying in USC. So a few of the seniors helped me from there. Even I am an ambassador, so you can reach out to me on that platform. And what else? Yeah, before signing the lease, make sure to read the lease correctly. If what is included, like if thatch is included, water is included, what extra you have to pay apart from the rent perspective. And yeah, I think that summarizes what Madhu also said.
Okay. Then one student asked, what issues would I face if I look for an apartment about 3 miles away? Madhu, you want to talk about that first?
Yeah, I'd say the prime issue would be commute, especially at odd times in the day. That apart, I think it depends on the exact apartment that it is. You would have any issues that a close by apartment has, so that depends on the apartment. But the one thing that would set you apart is the commute. So you may want to forget sort of late nighters. I don't know. So it is a little scary to be very far off from campus. It does get cheaper far off from campus because you're away from the safer areas. So you kind of want to make sure that it's okay to be there, and I don't know if you plan to commute by riding to the place or you want to drive to the place. But I think, yeah, if you're riding or if you plan to walk or take public transport, you are definitely at a risk there.
Okay.
And
Ayush,
just to add on that, we don't get free lift ride outside the zone. So for that, and plus you don't get more Indian community outside if you're looking for one. I would personally say don't go for Indian community too much because you're here to explore. Having said that, we don't get free lift ride. It is difficult to come to campus once the campus has started. So if you are lazy like me, stay near campus.
that's a good answer. Yeah. All right. So what is the ideal time to book off-campus apartment considering the current scenario of the pandemic? So Ayush, what would you say? Where you know what the situation in India is now. There's a flight ban. There are no flights from India to the US now immediately, and then also none of these students or very few of them actually have received a visa to come. So in this scenario, what would be an ideal time to book an off-campus apartment?
Great question because it is a bit tricky scenario right now. So first thing what I understand, I know there's a flight ban, but there should be an exception for students. Same thing happened when I was traveling. We had air bubble, but F1 student visa people were allowed to fly. Again, I have not read the rule completely.
So I think Parth will talk about,
Correct.
the travel ban, but maybe you could just address the part about when is an appropriate time for them to actually do the,
Booking of
yes.
Yeah.
What,
I would say I would say considering we can fly, it's a good time to start now because common places like let's say City Park, Palisades, or Ellendale Street, they fill up very fast. Point number one. Point number two, because last fall and spring people deferred their admit to this fall, chances are very high. Again, I don't have any numbers. I am just going by the thing which I hear. there might be a high number of people who are flying this year. So again, the places will go up faster. What a person can do is when they are talking to the manager or the management, that is how things go over here. You can have a word that, okay, if for some reason, if I'm not able to come, will the deposit be refundable? If not 100%, then at least some part of it should be refundable.
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea for you to look into that and ask that question.
It's a gamble. It's actually a gamble, to be honest. If you don't have a refund, but if you don't have a place again, it's a gamble, honestly.
So one student has a question, which is the best area around USC with a strong Indian community? I know you said you don't look for the Indian community, but yeah, there's some students who would want an Indian community.
Definitely. So I just on the top of my head, we have Ellendale Street. The entire street is filled with Indian students and American both. It's a mixture. Then we have Palisades. It's a bit expensive because it's a famous. So how things goes if the place is famous, obviously the rent will be higher. Like City Park is getting quite famous this year. What I have seen, many people are asking questions about City Park. So I have seen the rent have increased for the next term. But places around that, like 30th Street, there are many Indians around me. Then we have 29th Street, Ellendale Street, Palisades, West Adams. So anything around the campus, you will find many Indians. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Also depends on how you look at it.
Okay. All right.
Madhu, if you want to add
something. Yeah. Madhu, would you like to say something?
Yeah, so I lived at Mardet Apartments, that's 2707 Portland Street, and that was filled with Indians. There's also a sister apartment, Mardi Gras, and that one is also strong on the Indian community. Yeah.
All right. So now the next question is, what would be a better option, a townhouse or an apartment in terms of safety, value for money, amenities, and others? Madhu?
Yeah, I think so. One question would be, is this townhouse managed by a particular management, or are you renting it off of individual people? Because if it's the latter, then maintenance services are probably hard to come by. The thing with apartments is that they have a solid management taking care of things. So if you have issues, you raise a maintenance request, and at least you have someone to service them for you. And probably maybe even security would be a little better in an apartment than in a townhouse.
Okay. All right. So coming to cost, what is the cheapest housing option available?
I'll go on that. So
okay.
It also depends on how many people are sharing a place. So I'll give my example. I am in a 1 BHK and 3 people are sharing it. So it's 600 per person. I was on a sublease, so I got some discount. But actual rent is 600. If I go to my neighbor, there are 4 people sharing the same place. So if you see, the rent actually comes down per person. So
how does that living experience, how does that work out, Ayush? I mean, there's just one bathroom, I guess, right?
I mean, if you have a good understanding with your roommates and if you gel well, it works fine. Okay. And considering I don't think a person can take 1 BHK on its own or a studio apartment. They are mainly what I've seen. A studio is shared by 2 people, 1 BHK by 3 to 4, 2 BHK by 4 to 5. That is how things go. And if you have a budget, you can take 1 room, definitely. Okay.
Okay. Are there limits that the landlord will place on how many people can be in one apartment?
Yes. So it depends on the management. So I know Palisades has a limitation of 5 people in 2 BHK, whereas my place does not have any limitations. So it also depends on the management. That is why we have to read the lease correctly.
Okay. And one thing I'd like to add is, we are coming out of COVID situation in LA. Things are beginning to look up over there. But on the other hand, this experience had shown us how important work from home has become. So if you have multiple people living in an apartment, that might be a little challenging, and you might want to
Correct.
consider that.
We have to keep that in mind and take a sweet spot like 3 people or worst case 4 people if the budget is not allowing it.
Okay.
Coming back to budget, and
I
many people are asking on the chat also. So it ranges from 500 to 750 per person, depending on the people sharing and place and whatnot. For single person, if you are not sharing, it goes from 1000 to 1200 on that range. Yeah, Madhu.
I'd
Yeah.
just like to add that there are also some suitable configurations if you want to go with a group of 4 people. There are some configurations of 1 bed and 2 bath. So typically the hall is shared among 2 people, and the room is shared among 2 people, and the hall has like an attached bath, and so also the bedroom. So this is the kind of configuration I lived in my first year, which worked out okay. But it depends. So it depends on what people's sleep schedule is, what their outside work schedule is. So I think as Sudha told, if it's all 4 people living under the same roof at like throughout the day, it is a little bit difficult. But if everything is back to regular functioning, usually different people have different schedules, and it might just fall into place as well.
Yeah, I think, yeah, a lot of students spend a lot of time on campus on a normal year, and not as much time in their apartments. So maybe that works. But okay. So what is the situation on the deposit, Madhu? How much is a deposit? How many months of deposit do people have to pay?
I think this varies depending on the management, but I think typically, correct me if I'm wrong, Ayush, but I think it's about a month's rent. On an average, I think it is about that. And sometimes you get most of it back, and sometimes you don't. Again, that depends on how well you have maintained the apartment over the duration of your stay, and most times a lot of it does get cut.
Okay. Ayush, how much did you pay for deposit?
Yes, so it was my 1 month rent. And because I was subleasing the apartment, I had to give it to the person who was staying before me. Sublease means a person has a lease on his name and he's forwarding the lease to you. They're not signing a new lease. So I had to pay it to him. So in my case, I transferred the money to his Indian account. Whereas if you have to transfer to the management, there are 2 options. Either you transfer it via your friend over here and you transfer it to his account. If you don't have that option, you can request management that you will come here and pay. Option number 3, see if credit card works, because debit card does not work for international payment. And worst case, if nothing works out, then you have to do a wire transfer, which will take time and is a bit expensive also.
Okay. All right. So let's say that the students have done their research, but now they need to actually zoom in on an apartment. What are the top 3 things that you would recommend that they check out?
First thing is, if possible, try to have a video tour of the apartment. Check if there are roaches, check if there are rodents and any other insects problem, and see how far is it from the campus. Plan how will you travel, because you don't have the facilities of, you can't walk daily, right? If it's raining, for example, you need lift or you need some other options. And what else? Try to look out where are the nearest Indian stores where you buy groceries from, because that is also one thing which happens twice a week, most or not less. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Madhu, anything else that I forgotten?
Yeah, one other thing which you did mention a little before this, but yeah, make sure to thoroughly read the lease agreement. Just look for all possible loopholes. Look for every red flag that's out there. If in case you're not able to go for some odd reason, then make sure you know and you're aware, well aware of what are the repercussions of that.
Okay. So, all right. The next student writes, I'm in a roommate group with someone for on-campus housing, and that person has filled in his application late. will it affect my chances of getting an allotment, or will it only affect my chances of getting that person as a roommate? Any idea?
Is it for
So,
on-campus?
Ayush, yeah, this is for on-campus housing.
So what I have heard, again, don't quote me on this, I might be wrong. If you are signing a agreement, you are signing just for your spot. You might not know who your roommate will be. You can change your roommate if required, but again, this is all what I've heard and done my research 3 months back. I have not met any person who is staying on campus, so I don't have experience on that.
All right.
Madhu,
No, I think we'll move on to the next question now. So I know there've been a lot of questions about cost. I've been seeing that in the chat as well. So is it possible to get a single occupancy room between $700 and $900?
we can get studio apartments 700, 900. I have seen a few places where we do have this range, where it's like 3 BHK, one room is a bit smaller, and it might not have a shared bathroom. Sorry, it might not have a private bathroom. Then you might get on this rent. But studios, definitely, if you're looking near campus, it is 1,000 and plus.
Okay. All right. So now, what is your advice to students who are facing the situation where there is, they see that housing is in short supply? They are not sure if they will be able to come to LA for the fall semester. What would you do in such a situation, Ayush?
First thing, houses in a short supply. Uh, I don't think that is true, because if you look at Facebook groups, we have like multiple posts coming up every day. What is possible that the budget does not fall in place, because I also did not get a place in my budget for like 2-3 months, and I was also scared, like, where will I stay? But finally I got a spot and I said yes to it. Coming to the second question, because of the current situation, if I'm not able to fly, it's a gamble. As I said, you need to speak to the management or the people staying over there. Worst case, what will happen? You book your spot and you're not able to fly, then you have to sublease the spot on the Facebook group to someone else at a lower rate or something. So what I'm trying to say is, you are in India, you have already got a spot, and you have already paid the deposit. And if you don't want to pay the rent for the coming months, you can sublease this place to someone else. But to get a person is not guaranteed.
Yeah, I think my advice to all of you would be to talk to the management, understand what the rules are, and see what their rules are. I think you need to find out all this information, and definitely, I think I would not actually sign a lease till you get a visa. So I think this year I would suggest you be a little careful because we don't know how things are going to go. Definitely, I think I would not do anything in the month of May till things clear up a little bit more. So in June, maybe you can revisit and start thinking about it. Okay, so so when somebody is looking at their lease, I know you, Madhu, you mentioned that they need to look at it very carefully, but what are the red flags?
Yeah, so if you've reached the point where you're signing the lease, I hope you've made sure about the legitimacy of the housing management and the person that you're interacting with. So beyond that, what you're looking for is mainly, especially given the current situation, it is, if you break the lease, then what are you up for? Like, what do you have to pay to the management, and what really you owe to them? That's one thing. And the other thing to look out for is all of the amenities that are mentioned in the lease agreement, if they match whatever you agreed on, the services that will be available to you. So you might want to check gas, electricity, trash, Wi-Fi, water, which of it is included, which of it is not. all of those will be detailed in the lease agreement, and you want to make sure that you understand that clearly. Another thing to look out for is the term of the lease agreement. And if you plan to transfer the lease at some point for some reason, especially like in the case that Ayush mentioned, if you pay up the deposit and you want to sort of fall back on subleasing the spot if you're not able to go in the fall, then you have to see if subleasing is allowed in the first place. Yeah, yeah, these are the things that I can think of now.
Sounds good. Yeah, if you think of anything else, you can just put that in the chat site. Okay. So what are the kind of scams that you see that students should avoid? Ayush, you want to talk about that?
Yes. So I have not come across a person who have been scammed, but from the videos that I've watched, so what happens is people might ask you to pay the money and the place might not even exist, or the person might not be the real manager or the broker that we call it in India. So what safety and what precaution you should do is have a video tour if possible. People might be staying in that place, right? So try to get in touch with them. They might, I mean, the manager might say that, okay, the place is free of rodents, everything is well, everything is nice. But the person who's actually staying there can give you the true picture of the surroundings. So try to get in touch with people staying over there or around that area.
Okay.
There are also, I just want to add that some scams happen around the payment process. So just beware at the time when you're actually transferring money. There are times when I've heard of certain scams. You pay a certain amount of money and they say they'll send the money back to you when they ask you to retransfer a certain amount. And it so happens that they actually don't send back the money and you end up double transferring the money to them. So I've heard of some scams like this.
So how do you make sure that they are who they say they are?
Yeah, I think this is a difficult one.
What I would do is double check their Facebook profile if you're talking to Facebook. Search them on LinkedIn, Instagram. If they have a good social presence, the person might not be so fake.
Okay.
I think also if you're sure of the apartment, then you can talk to seniors or residents from the place, and you'll know who the actual lease manager is. So yeah.
Yeah. So I'll tell a small story. Somebody reached out to me on Unibuddy, and they asked me about a place which is just right across my street. So what the best I could do is while I go for a walk, I just took a picture of the place and DM'd the picture to the person. So the person had assurance that okay, this place exists and it is not a fake place.
Okay. All right. Great. I think all of these, these pieces of information are very, very useful. So now I think we are moving on to some quality of life questions. So how is life living in USC housing for international grad students? If both of you don't live in USC housing, I know, but you may have friends. Madhu, you probably have some friends who lived in USC housing. What was their feedback to you?
Yeah, so I had some friends who lived in Troy Hall and Troy East, and I think they had wonderful experiences. So just how streamlined the process is for everything, like rent payment, servicing, everything was just very streamlined. Everything sort of was taken care of. We would be struggling to meet ends, pay electricity bills, pay gas bills, talk to the landlord, and each time probably get a cashier's check from Bank of America and go drop that off physically at the management office. And so all of this is not there. If you're living on campus, there's a neat portal. You just pay your share of the money, and everyone's responsible for whatever they owe. And I think everything is sort of taken care of. And another good thing about most of these university housing options is that they all have a study. I think most of them have a study lounge. So in case you're not very comfortable at home, you can always use the space in the study lounge. There are also courtyards with fireplaces in Troy, I think, which I've heard, and like I have been there as well. I've visited Troy when my friends stayed there. So yeah, some of these things were nice, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. How does living in LA feel? Is it isolated or do you feel welcomed as part of the community there? Madhu, you can go first.
Yeah, I really like this question because I love to talk about how LA was so much like Bangalore for me. I think the first thing that really checked was weather. It was great. It was not too different from Bangalore, just a little hotter, yes, and a little colder, yes. But otherwise, I think LA had great weather. And the other awesome thing about LA was, at least if you live close to campus, the roads are great. The streets sort of don't make you feel out of place at all. And I had always heard about how in the US it's just so much quieter, and like how are you going to get used to that way of life. I never experienced that because LA has a huge amount of traffic, no different from Bangalore. And I really used to enjoy like the whole walk from apartment to school, like and every morning or like every whenever. And I really like how so yeah, one thing is there are a lot of people from the Indian community. USC has a lot of admits from India, so you do see like familiar faces every time around. And also I think streets are pretty nice. It's mostly students in the area, but you also see some other people, and I've always met quite like friendly people. There are also great shopping areas like for groceries and daily needs close by to campus. USC Village is one such awesome place which opened up just the year that I joined. So yeah, I thought of LA and USC as very colorful and very lively.
I lived in LA for about 18 years, and I can tell you that the people, not just the Indian community, but the entire USC community, are super welcoming and super friendly. California in general, I think people tend to be very, very friendly. So USC would be a place where you would feel at home. Ayush, you want to say something about this?
So one thing, 100% I agree. It is exactly similar to life in Bangalore. Uh, I mean, when I came here, I didn't feel that I'm coming to a new place, to be honest, because I've lived in Bangalore for quite a good amount of time. The weather is far better as compared to India. The weather is really nice. It is a bit sunny during summer and cold during winter, but not extremes like we have in New York or Northern California. And people are welcoming. If you go and talk to them, nobody will be. There is no racism or there is no problem and such of that sort.
Okay.
What else? Yeah, you can follow my channel for more videos on how peaceful life is.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to, there was one question about the lease that I didn't ask, and I want to go back to that. That is, when does the lease period start?
So generally it is 12 months and it is usually from fall to fall. But you also have leases from spring to spring as well because people mainly come in
So
fall
in
as
the
well.
month of August, for example, when does that start?
So what I have taken generally right now and what I've heard my friends take up is from 1st August to next 2022 July end. Yeah. And there was a question in the chat that what should I sign a 12-month lease in advance? Then definitely there is no problem because you will get a sublease option. You can lease out the place to someone else if required.
Okay.
So there may also be some units which are available around last week of July. So it depends on the specific apartment and the specific unit you're looking to lease out. Given that we like students may have to get there and then quarantine for about a 2-week period, you can always talk about starting the lease a little early, probably last week of July or yeah, the third week of July. I think it depends on whether the previous tenants have left. So yeah.
Okay. I see one question in USC housing, is food included, or do we need to get a meal plan separately? Madhu?
Yeah, I think the meal plan is separate from the USC housing, if I'm not wrong. So yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Then there are other types of questions now. Can you recommend options for a student with a spouse who's looking for a studio apartment?
Definitely, there's no harm in that. And even if the studio is not falling into budget, you can go for a 2 BHK where you take a room and the other people can take the other room. There are places like this also.
Okay. Do you have some names of any places that you remember?
I mean, so we don't have a restriction over here like we have in India, right? That people cannot stay together if they are not married or something of that sort. So let's say, even if you take example of City Park or Palisades, you just have to sign a lease and you just stay where you want to stay.
Right. Okay. 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 The next question is actually, again, a very troubling thing for our students, is that there's a requirement for quarantine when they come to LA. So how is it that students manage the quarantine when they're coming to a new country?
So I'll go with that. So I quarantined in the place where I'm currently staying. So my place was already booked. I just, when I landed, I just came to my place and I quarantined for 14 days. The rules keep on changing. So make sure to look at the latest rules. And if you have a place already available, you can quarantine over there. If you don't have a place, unfortunately, you can stay at your friend's place. People are accommodating, so don't worry about it.
Okay. How easy or difficult is it to arrange furniture in an unfurnished apartment?
Yeah,
Ayush?
I can take. Oh,
Okay,
go ahead.
Madhu, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just going to say that it's not all that difficult. If you're buying just the bare basics, so that would be a bed frame, a mattress. Typically, if you can reach out to someone to help you with this, if you can pre-order a mattress before you get there, then it'll avoid sleeping on the floor for a couple of days probably. But otherwise, putting up like a bed frame together is not difficult at all. The entire packaging comes with a full-fledged manual and instructions of how to put it together, and it's pretty neat. It's easy. So at the time that I studied, there were also quite a few students who reached out to seniors and bought furniture from them, but I don't think that that's very feasible given the current situation. You might want to go for things sort of firsthand. And another common option that I've seen students going for is beds with bed boxes by some local mattress companies in and around. And that is also quite an easy option.
Okay.
I just add a few more things. So very
Mhm.
important. So when you come to a place which is unfurnished, you don't have lights, you don't have bed. So this might be new to people. You don't have fans also at many times. So just to keep the conversation short, I already have a video with, so it's called episode 2. If you go to my channel, where the people have shared their experience of moving to City Park, which was completely unfurnished. So, I mean, what I want to say, it is already discussed over there. So you better watch that video and you will have an understanding of how to find stuff before coming.
Fantastic. Okay. So specifically, okay, then we are going to, someone wanted to know about Lorenzo and how is that? Can you find a similar good place but at a cheaper price?
So what I call Lorenzo, it's a 5-star hotel. Getting similar for a cheaper price, I don't know. I have not found anything yet.
All right. So we'll move on to cost of living questions. I know this is not 100% part of the topic, but housing is part of cost of living. So I'm going to take questions like that. what could be the maximum cost of living? Can you give your insights, Akshay? This question is to Ayush, actually.
Sure. So I divide this question into two parts. First is a fixed thing that you have to pay, and second is variable. Fixed will include your rent, electricity bill, gas bill, and those factors. So that you know before you come in here. Okay, let's keep that aside. And coming to variable part is mainly your food, how much you travel, and if you're a person like me, then how much you spend on gadgets. Okay, so that is variable. If you want to understand how much I pay, so in my videos, I have my January, February, and I'm putting up March and April, each and everything that I've spent, going from 50 cents to cleaning of my laundry to $100 for my screen. Everything is there in that. So you can check that out. Roughly, it goes from 100 to 150 for food if you're not eating too much outside. Like I personally cook. But last month I had ordered a lot because I had exams and I did not have time to cook. So Madhu, is that the case for you also, right? Before that, 100, 150 for food?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, I was someone
Yeah.
who more often cooked at home, at least in my first STEM or so. Yeah.
So what
Okay,
happens is
so
once you get a on-campus job, right? So once I got my on-campus job, I started thinking less about cooking at home and let's order it off.
okay, so Ayush, if you take your housing, your utilities, your food, how much does it come up to? Approximately.
600, 750, 800, 900 approx, including everything. 600 is
Comfortably
rent.
within 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
easily within 1,000. Yes.
Okay, unless you don't want to share your room. If you don't
No,
want to share your room, that cost
it is
can
with
go
a
up.
it is with a shared room. So if you don't want to share a room, yeah, the cost might double up because the rent double ups.
Yes. Okay. Um, will a part-time job, I mean, this is on-campus job, not part-time job, but will a on-campus job cover your living expenses? Does it do that for you, Ayush?
So it again depends on how many hours you're working. So in a short, you can work for 20 hours per week in fall and summer, fall and spring. You can work for 40 hours in summer. So once I got my on campus job, earlier it was just for few hours a week. So it was barely covering my food expense. Right now I have two on campus job, which is covering my 20 hours of a week. So I'm easily able to make up for my rent and I save a few from that. So the next question might be, is it easy to get on campus job? It is not a cakewalk, but if you're persistent, you definitely get one. I got two on-campus jobs within 3 months, but I was applying daily. Every Monday, I used to sit and apply to different on-campus jobs.
Okay. Madhu, what about you? What was your experience?
So for me, I didn't work until my final semester on campus. So I don't think I'm the best person to answer that. But when I did work on campus, then I can say that it was sufficient to cover for my expenses.
Okay, all right. So how much do groceries actually cost at USC, and are there some good places for affordable grocery shopping? Actually, I'm going to ask Ayush to answer this question because he's done an entire video on that, right?
Yeah, so mainly we have Ralph and okay, if you look for groceries, we have Ralph, you have Trader Joe's and you have Target. So Ralph is a bit cheaper, then comes Trader Joe's and then comes Target. But the groceries that you look here, they're a bit different from what you find in India. So you might be a little bit shocked on that. So don't worry. Coming to Indian stuff, like if you want Maggi, if you want your Indian masalas, then we have two options. One is Artesia that you have to order from a WhatsApp. They will come and give it to you. And second is Manas. So for Manas, I have made a video what each thing cost. So you can look at that. I will put the link in the description. And for groceries, I might do something in summer once I get some time after exams.
Okay. All right. So I think we have actually covered a lot of material in this 1 hour. There's now, I just wanted to also address the very recent travel ban that has happened. And I think Parth has done a little bit of research and he has some input to give you. So I'm just going to ask Parth to say a few words about the travel ban and how it affects students on an F1 visa who are planning to travel for summer 21 and also for fall 21. Parth Sarvate, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sudha. So before I sort of talk about what is happening, I just wanted to also put some caveat that the situation is changing every day, and it's very important to watch out for what is happening and
You're breaking up a lot, Parth. Parth, you're breaking up a lot. Your audio is breaking up a lot. Maybe if you want, you can take out your video. Maybe it'll get better.
Okay. Is this better?
Please continue.
Yeah. So I wanted to, say that whatever information I'm giving, this information keeps changing because of various challenges that are there currently, and therefore it's very important that you keep looking at news channels, at the Department of State website, and try to understand what is happening. Also, the embassy also puts up, embassy and the consulates in India do put up all the information on their website as well. So first of all, for visa support, Education USA is an organization that you can connect with, and they are having a lot of sessions. I'm going to put up the link for where you can register for these sessions and the dates that they're doing it for different consulates. So definitely do sign up. These are virtual sessions, and that will help you in being able to understand what the process is. That said, given the current ban, the ban happened yesterday, so whatever information I have is very new. But what I do know is there's something called a national interest exception. This is a rule that allows students from various countries like Iran, China, South Africa, Brazil. These are all in the banned list country, and students from here are allowed to go to the US for fall 2021 edition. India has just been added to that list, and I'm going to put the link of the proclamation by Secretary Anthony Blinken in the chat in a minute. And both of these, you'll see initially one proclamation where Secretary Anthony Blinken has put India in that list, and then it will take you to another place which tells you what the national interest exception is, which basically means that if your course is beginning after August 1, and this is only for fall 2021 I'm talking about, if it's beginning after August 1, 2021, then you are automatically included in this national interest exception rule, and you do not need to contact an embassy or a consulate to get an individual exception, and you can directly travel 30 days before your program starts. So if your program is starting, let's say on 1st of August, then you can travel as early as July 1, not before that. However, if you're traveling in the summer, you will have to write to the embassy and the consulate in India and ask them if you are eligible for the national interest exception and can travel in the summer. So for fall 2021, currently there doesn't seem to be any challenge, though things can change. But for summer 2021, you will have to write to the embassy and ask. For visas also, I'm putting up the information that should help you get the correct information. Education USA is partnering with the consulates, and there'll be a visa officer who will be answering these questions. So this is a legitimate source. So that will help you a lot to understand what to expect. So you can take other questions. I'll just put all these links in the chat.
Yeah, no, I completely concur with what Parth just said. Please, we don't have all the information. Education USA would be a great place, and they have been doing a few of these webinars about visas and so on. So please check with them and attend one of those sessions so that you get a lot of information. The situation is fluid, it is changing all the time, so the rules can change at any given time. So Keep checking the US consulate websites. For those of you who are not getting any visa appointments, typical years, right? What we do see is that the visas slots keep opening up. The consulate keeps giving new appointments, releasing new appointments through May, June, July, and so on. So students in the past have been getting visas. While at first it looks like there are no visa appointments at all, later on they would open up. The US consulate also would do a lot of set days where they would only process F1 student visas. So a lot of students would get their visas on those days. This year, we are not quite sure how things are going to go. I think it will all depend on how the COVID situation pans out in India. If the cases go down, I think the US consulates will prioritize F1 student visas. But if things don't go down, then they will continue to not have visa slots, I would expect. Because, yeah, Parth, go ahead.
I just wanted to add that, the slots are reduced. Almost all the consulates are currently closed, but, take up appointments when you can, and you get an opportunity to apply for an expedited visa once your program dates comes closer. Look for these things, because currently most of the consulates, and what we've heard from them, is that they're only offering expedited appointments, and they do make sure that you get included, but it may all happen very late. So take up any appointment that you can, look for change in the appointment, and how you can apply for an expedited visa when you can.
Okay, thank you. So I think this is what Parth and I wanted to say about on the subject. There's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot that anybody does not know. So, keep checking the consulate, reach out to Education USA, and get as much information as you can over the period of this coming month. Now, before we wind up, I know that some of you would like to connect up. There are some WhatsApp groups I hear. So if anybody knows of good, please put that in the chat site for the benefit of the students who are not yet networked. I hope you found this session very helpful. Please, in the chat section, please put a note saying whether you enjoyed the thing and whether you found this session helpful. Also, a big thank you to Ayush Khator and Madhu Venkatesh for joining today, despite very busy schedules. So give us a thumbs up if you found this helpful. And Parth, as always, thank you very much. Are there any other questions that we did not cover? Ayush, did you see anything in the chat that we did not cover?
I was trying to answer a few questions, but there are like 62 questions on the chat right now.
Wow.
So what we can do is, if you have any questions, you can reach out to Madhu or me on LinkedIn. But what we would appreciate, I think even Madhu can say yes on that, just drop a message on the when you're reaching out to us on LinkedIn, so that we know that you are coming from here and we accept. Because if I tell you my status right now, I have like 188 invitations waiting, which I have not accepted, because I don't know them, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
From that, you can reach out to me on Unibuddy. You can, I would really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. Taking out time out of studies and daily work is very difficult. So I'm trying my best to help everybody possible. And many questions, like I saw in the chat, they're already answered in the conversation which I had with people. So they will definitely benefit.
Yeah,
how to find on-campus job and stuff. Yeah.
So those of your friends who missed this session, we have recorded it. At some point, we will upload that and make it available to others. And if some of you wanted to revisit the recording, you can do so as well. So thank you all so much for joining us. Stay safe, and we are all rooting for you, and fight on. Thank you. Please make sure that you, I'll keep the session open for just a minute more. If you have not copied any of the resources in the chat section, please do so. Good night to all of you in India, and good morning to you, Ayush. Have a wonderful day. Thank you again, Madhu. Thank you, Parth. Good night, everybody.
I must thank Ayush and Madhu. They were excellent. I relived all the days that I did my, postgraduate at Cambridge, Massachusetts. But I remember everything that you said. Everything came back to me. This was exactly like this, and nobody could have covered it in more detail. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Parth.
Great job, guys. Thanks very much. Good night.
Night. Thank you.